Whether it's a movie night or just midday, Skinny Pop is a salty snack that keeps on giving. Made with just 3 simple ingredients for an irresistibly delicious taste and a large serving size that lasts. Deliciously popped, perfectly salted. Skinny Pop, popular for a reason. Shop Skinny Pop now.
That's a kind of existential question, really. Can you ever truly look forward to a visit to Stoke?
Well, it's if you like going back in time and visiting Man, round about the time of the missing link, that's Stoke.
Yeah, apologies to our Stoke cousins and their Stoke.
Well,
look,
cousins in the...
We all knew where that was going. Just put it down on the table and slowly back away.
Yeah, you tee him up and I'll hit him.
Juan Mata will tee him up and Robin Van Persie will hit him. We've won a football match, Ed!
Well, indeed he did. We won a football match. We did win a football match, and it wasn't the most spectacular of performances. It's a bit odd when the bottom side in the Premier League comes and hogs the ball for long periods of time, which is exactly what Cardiff did, Not the first average side to come and outpass United, of course. But when Mata was there and he started the game, we thought he might. A little short of match fitness. He looked a touch rusty, although he got the ball loads. I have to say, it was nice that he got the ball more than any other United player, I think. Passed it neatly. I guess my principal observation on Mata is that I don't think he really played like Juan Mata, and I think we'll see a different style from him. I kind of hope we do. I mean, he basically played just in off the right-hand channel and pinged a lot of cross-field balls, and that's not really his game. He's the man who plays it through the defence and pokes around the edge of the box. That, again, of course, is not David Moyes' style, but we'll see whether Mata adapts or Moyes adapts. Which comes first?
Yeah, I was going to say, Moyes has got his hands on him now. 3 days in training, that's it. Who fit long, son? Get out wide, and who fit to Robin? That's the Man United way.
Well, that's it. It is. It's passing a triangle in central midfield and get it out to the wing as early as possible and get someone to overload. And Mata was playing that style. I mean, this is not tiki-taka by any means.
He looked different class, though, didn't he?
Well, he's very classy on the ball. He's very, very classy on the ball. And he made some lovely touches as well. Being a little cynical in commentary about his style of play, although, I do think it fits into a Moyes pattern, at least, on 90 minutes worth of evidence. But very, very nice touches. He made 4 chances, so the stats tell us. A lovely ball for Ashley Young at one point, floated to the back post, which Young didn't put in. Had a hand in the first goal, and a very accomplished debut. I think there's a lot more to come from him, but I don't think there are any complaints, really.
No, absolutely. I mean, my principal response to seeing him in a red shirt was just giddy, childlike excitement, really. And the fact that we scored after 6 minutes, Robin Van Persie back in the side, 6 minutes in, we were actually winning a game, was pretty exciting early period in that game, and it definitely petered out as Cardiff managed to dominate our midfield of Ryan Giggs and Phil Jones.
Funny that. How does that happen? I'm not sure. How you play central defender and a 40-year-old in midfield, and the bottom side in the Premier League runs triangles around you. Runs triangles, but, passed it in triangles anyway, and they did keep a lot of the ball. I mean, 55% of possession overall, but even more than that in the second half, I think.
Yeah, and I Giggs did all right, actually, in that game, and he kind of looked vaguely interesting in the centre of midfield, which is more than can be said for his colleagues that were not playing. There was a lot of forward momentum when he had the ball. Really good in possession, didn't have a huge amount of the ball, but hardly gave the ball away, which is, of course, not the Ryan Giggs way. But yeah, so that wasn't bad. But Phil Jones what's Phil Jones's best position is a running gag on this show, right? But it's so incredibly clear that the people who are saying that central midfield is his best position and where he'll end up in the end, I don't know, someone needs to take him away and teach him how to do that for a season before he's going to be able to do it, because he's just not a midfielder, is he?
No, he's really not. He's a defender playing in midfield, and I don't think he could get away with it anywhere but in England. I feel like we're going around in circles with this conversation, which is much like Phil Jones's performances in midfield. Boom. He just doesn't know how to play the position. I'm sorry, that running around and making some tackles is not playing in midfield. No wonder that United struggled in that portion of the pitch. But up front, there's plenty of quality. Rooney was back, came on as a substitute. Van Persie started. I thought it might have been the other way around, given that Van Persie has been out for so long, but he looked all right. He didn't look too rusty, did he, Van Persie, and reacted pretty quickly for the opening goal. And I think that really helped United, actually. Scoring so early made sure that the game was a little easier than it might have been otherwise, because United have conceded quite a few goals.
Absolutely. I mean, I said after the Chelsea game, we really need to score when we've got that early possession, because when we don't, we really cause problems for ourselves. Because we
Was that in a top 10 list of why we really need to score early?
Yeah, it was a top 6 list, in fact, that one. Yeah, but the top 5 reasons why it's good when we score early are Robin Van Persie off the mark, and it stops all the little niggling self-doubt of whether he's going to come back strong, because he is a form player, Van Persie, right? I mean, all strikers are, I guess, and Van Persie is in form more than he's not, but when he's out of form, you really can tell. The second thing is it meant that all that Cardiff possession afterwards felt a little safer, and I mean it did get hairy a couple of times, but it just relieved so much pressure. And given the nature of the expectation in the build up to that game between the signing of Mata and then the announcement that Van Persie and Rooney would both be involved in the squad, and the fact that Mata was in the first team, the fact that we scored early was just brilliant, right? It just sealed the deal, as it were.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's a massive boost. There's no doubt about that. I think there was a lot of confident noises coming from the United camp on Mata's signing. Behind the scenes, it might be different. I mean, certainly Andy Mitten's piece this week was interesting in terms of his insight into what players say in public and what they might think behind closed doors. And I think that bears itself out on the pitch. There's a lot of players there that they seem to have lost a couple of % of edge. But there's a huge boost from Mata joining, a massive boost from Rooney and Van Persie being fit again, and United should turn over Stoke coming up and then Fulham after that, and then we go into the Arsenal game. So it's a nice little run. Of course, we had this before Christmas as well, when we had a run of games that United could turn the sides over pretty easily, and then as soon as we face some decent sides, all the confidence left again. And let's hope that doesn't happen this time round. Maybe Mata is the stimulus to give United just that little bit more oomph.
Yeah, I mean, Mata and the return of Rooney and Van Persie, right? Because never has the like a new signing nonsense seemed more apt than the effect that those two could potentially have on United. I guess there's a whole big discussion to be had, which is pure speculation, and we'll see how it all plays out, about what Moyes is going to do with the talent available to him now. I mean, he played Young and Valencia in that game, and a lot of people decried that as a sort of backwards, conservative Neanderthal step, given the options. But really, it was quite sensible. He played Young because Evra's been injured, so he wanted to provide some measure of cover on the left-hand side, and he needed to rest Januzaj. Rooney wasn't fully fit yet. If he's going to play Young, he can't play Young, Mata and Kagawa, so Valencia kind of has to play, really. I hope that is not necessarily indicative of his plans in the long term.
Well, he could play Young, Mata and Kagawa. I mean, we've all talked about him playing Kagawa, Januzaj and Mata. So, they're all flexible enough to do that. Actually, that is one of Young's strengths, in that he can play across any of those three positions. We don't know the answers yet to exactly how this will turn out. I, being a cynic of long-standing, suspect that we'll try and cram some talented squares into round holes. And Moyes will stick to his long-understood tactics of getting the ball out wide and putting crosses in. And whether he's got talented players that are natural wingers or talented players that are naturally number 10s that are playing in wide positions, that's still what United will do now. At Everton, when he used players like Pienaar in wide positions rather than, say, players like Morales, Pienaar being a player who likes to cut in, allowed Baines space to run into the channel, and Evra should get that, and Evra's successor, whoever that might be. And if he uses a traditional winger like Valencia, then Rafael will support in a different way, and it's pretty obvious the pattern. Yeah, it doesn't take a tactical genius to work this one out, and it doesn't take a tactical genius from the opposition to work it out either. I do wonder whether Moyes will want to adapt, and when you've got talent like Kagawa and Januzaj and Mata, you kind of think you should use them in the best way. And we'll see. We'll see whether that happens or not.
I mean, you're a cynic of long-standing, and I'm an optimist of long-standing. I'm not saying they're opposite things. We clearly know that cynicism and pessimism are not the same. But the optimist in me says that actually Moyes is getting it. And we talked a little bit before we started recording about the fact that Moyes has shown his teeth this week, and very interesting that he used the signing of Juan Mata to announce to his players that he was now really in control, and if they didn't shape up they were going to get shipped out.
Well, I think he got confidence not only from the signing, but also from the fact that he has this control over the team and the budget. And he's obviously got confidence from the fact that he will be allowed to spend and build his own team, which I would suggest he didn't have before, but now he does. And so it's given him some impetus, it's given him some confidence, it's given him some credibility in the market, I suppose. And he grew a pair, frankly. I'm not sure about showing his teeth, but he seems to have manned up, and that was something we'd asked for a while, wasn't it? And look, after that, we can have the debate about whether he's a good enough coach, whether he's smart enough tactically, whether he'll be able to give United that little bit of edge, whether he'll just still going to be a reactive coach, or he'll develop a pattern and style of play as all the best coaches do. You know, that may come, and that's kind of why people say, let's not panic, let's give him time to develop that. The real question, I suppose, now is, you know, whether he can develop a team quick enough, and now that he's got that control of the situation, and we certainly know he's going to ship some players out, definitely, and maybe more this winter, and definitely quite a few in the summer, and almost by default that will force him into creating his own team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has shipped out Wilf and Fabio, both on loan, I think, right? Fabio's Fabio's a permanent deal, because you can't loan two from the same club, but so yeah, I mean, he only has 6 months left on the contract anyway, so they took a greater fee from the Wilf Zaha loan than they did from the Fabio permanent transfer. It's sad in a way. Good for Wilf that he's going to get some game time away from the environment in Manchester, where he just has not settled and doesn't seem to have knuckled down. Rumour is, of course, he's not professional enough. Late for the under-21 game the other week, got dumped on the bench as a result. Late for training, so says the word, and all of that. And Fabio, a bit sad, because it's 3 years ago that he was starting in the European Cup final, and he's had some bad luck, a bad loan at QPR, so a lot of injuries, just not kept himself fit, and the fact that his brother was able to grab that right back slot, and he's not really a left back, you know, so there's more talent, I think, than in the lower reaches of the Premier League available there. Yeah, and I hope that what happens is he gets consistent games, and the transformation that's happened to Raphael happens to Fabio too.
Yeah, why not? And he's got the right coach to do that.
And I also think it's probably quite good for Raphael, actually, because Raphael's best season in a red shirt came when his brother was away on loan, and this season the distraction of his brother's difficulty with the current setup, you would think, given how close they are, that that's going to have a bit of a pull on Raphael's game himself, and I think he's been pretty good this season, but not as good as he was last season, and hopefully I think it might end up being a bit of a blessing in disguise for Raphael.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, again, the cynic in me tells me that Moyes just doesn't quite trust Raphael, because he's just a little loose defensively, and, in the same way he doesn't trust Kagawa, and he just doesn't trust Nani either, right? And these players all got their faults. I'm not pretending that they're perfect. I think of the three, Raphael's got less faults, or he's ironed out the faults more than the others, and got more of a chance of succeeding under Moyes. Now, I'd say that if Moyes was ever in the market for a right-back, he might do it, just because of the nature of Raphael's slightly loose defensive play. We'll see. So what's your evidence for that? Because as far as I can call to memory, Raphael hasn't started when he's been fit. Once, twice maybe this season. He's Moyes' first choice right back every time. Yeah, well, he hasn't got many other choices. But just look at the facial expressions when Raphael gets the ball and screws up defensively. Yeah. Yeah, but if we're reading Moyes by his facial expressions, basically what he wants is to just be somewhere, anywhere else. Oh God, please let me free. But this week he looked really happy, and I feel really positive about David Moyes today. And I was thinking, why is it that I feel so good about David Moyes today? I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm a child and he's bought a shiny new toy. New dad has come along, and basically Fellaini was a GoBot and Juan Mata was a Transformer. You know, it was Fellaini was new dad trying to impress the people, impress the new kids, saying, you know, you've wanted a midfielder for ages, here's one. Oh, we didn't want a rubbish midfielder, new dad, and now we've got someone who's not a midfielder but is very shiny and new and exciting, and it was nice to see David Moyes looking so very happy as Juan Mata got off that helicopter. Yes, it was. I mean it's a massive win for him. It's a massive win for him. So yes, he was very happy, and United showing off a little bit there. Funny how they massively spun this, wasn't it? The story in The Guardian, Woody has been on the phone to Daniel Taylor telling him how wonderful he managed this transfer by having absolutely no role in it and allowing the agents to do it all for United. So this was apparently a piece of transfer genius. Interesting spin on it. And then the spin around Rooney and his new contract, and Rooney in fact being the real manager. That's why David Moyes is happy, because all the pressure is gone because Rooney's now picking the team.
Yeah, I mean, my first response to that story was, of course, to want to throw up all over the place, because the whole Wayne Rooney is bigger than the club. Mesquite un club, Wayne Rooney, is a bit of a problem. But on the other hand, the spin went that Mata got the lowdown on the transfers, and so Rooney did too, and Mata did as part of his contract negotiations, and Rooney has as part of his. And frankly, I'm not sure there's anything very wrong with that. And we're all used to, we've had years of totalitarian dictatorship where, you know, that would have been an absolute anathema for a player to want to know where the club was going. But I think in the current situation, given that United may look like they're falling apart at the seams, Rooney's got every right to know where the significant funds are going to be invested in rebuilding the squad before he...
Yes, well, there's we're going to, look, Ollie Swain, we're going to spend loads of money, and I suppose that one might have worked last time. Maybe he's not fool enough to fall for it twice, and he wants some details now. I don't know, but look, it's not just that, it's the fact that it's combined with Moyes' obsequious attitude over the last 6 months towards Wayne Rooney that causes, you know, some concern. Rooney, you know, stomped his feet and threw his toys out of the pram for the second time in 4 seasons, and instead of being put back in his place, he's been pandered to by Moyes, and it looks like Moyes has lost some control, right? That's what it looks like, and I'm not sure that'll go down well with the rest of the players. We'll see how this one plays out, you know. I don't half suspect that given 18 months, Rooney will have another strop about something at some point.
There was an interesting moment in the post-match interview after Cardiff. Let's just briefly finish off the Cardiff game. Ashley Young scored a blinder. He scored his special move goal. That is the Ashley Young goal. Quarter circle forward, hard kick. Ashley Young belts it towards cuts inside and belts it. And it doesn't always work, but it's lovely when it does. And that's 2 this season of those.
It's really easy to defend against Ashley Young. Show him the outside. Yeah, that's it. That's all you need to do.
Ole Solskjaer says in the post-match interview, you can't defend like that against Ashley Young. And I'm thinking, no, you can't. The irony is there are so many options for ways you can defend against Ashley Young.
To be fair, his delivery was actually quite good against Cardiff. He put in a couple of decent balls, and you know, this is all relative speaking. I'm not suddenly an Ashley Young fan. He is a wide player of the mediocre variety, but he's United's mediocre, I suppose, and he's good squad filler, and you'd hope, given the amount of talent there is available to play in kind of forward positions, that he gets less game time, not more, as the season goes on.
That Cardiff game that is Ashley Young's level, you know? Because I think Cardiff realistically probably should be a mid-table-ish side, and I think, you know, Ashley Young should go back to Aston Villa, and I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean it to be good enough to be a mid-table Premiership footballer, you have to be absolutely brilliant at football, you know? But he's not the top level, is he?
He's certainly not. There you go. I mean, he'll complete this season with United. He's certainly not going anywhere in the winter transfer window, and that'll be 3 years at Manchester United. Amazing.
It makes you think. Ando's got the 88 shirt at Fiorentina, talking about players who have had a...
Yes, he ate a lot.
I mean, really, it's almost not fair that he's got 88 on his back, because it's just too many jokes all in one go, isn't it? Yeah,
well, you know, it's 95% of our material, isn't it? So we're going to keep milking that one until he's officially not a United player anymore. Of course, he's called Ando.
Yeah.
OW at the end, which is a little weirder from his Instagram name. There you go, fresh start all round for the lad.
Yeah, and his shirt's already gone. It's like, oh yeah, no, just selling you on loan, Anderson. It's fine. No, it's only a loan. We just want to get you some game time. And go, David, you said I was on loan. Why has this new lad got my shirt number? It's pretty fair to say that our new number 8 is better than our old number 8, isn't it?
Well, yes, although, of course, the old number 8 came for a huge amount of money, and there was a lot of excitement about him. And people praised his early performances as well. So.
You cannot be cynical about the Juan Mata transfer. I can't believe that's possible.
No, I'm not. I think he's got too much quality to fail, although I think he could be misused. Definitely think he could be misused. Or maybe a fairer way of putting that is not misused, but the best won't be brought out of him because he won't be played in the way that's going to bring the best out of him, which is to give him a very loose role behind a forward and concentrate the play through the middle a little bit. And, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that's how I think United should play. I just think that's the best way to get the most out of your very expensive new number 10.
I mean, I think that's how United should play. Definitely. Januzaj, Rooney, Mata behind Van Persie sounds all kinds of right to me.
Yes, and it's definitely not a traditional let's knock it into the box, and it's very un-David Moyes. So I'm afraid I don't have a prediction. I have a fear that nothing will actually change in Moyes' makeup, because why should it? It hasn't in 15 years of being a manager.
Yeah, but it's different. It's just totally different being United manager. He just got to spend £40 million on a player. That's never happened in David Moyes' career before.
Well, it might have done when he was playing Football Manager or some other interweb type thing.
Yeah. So in the post-match interview, talking being obsequious to Wayne Rooney as you were earlier, Van Persie...
I most certainly was not obsequious to Wayne Rooney.
You were talking about it. Moyes said of Robin Van Persie, well, they've been telling me about all his goals last season. I can't believe he pulled the old "they've been telling me" line again. It's been a while since he rolled that one out. And also...
I know, they have been quite quiet recently, haven't they?
What a massive dig that was at Van Persie. His goals last season, you know, and also, like, goals are not... Like, you could say, they told me Shinji Kagawa was a really good player, but it's the first time I've seen it. You can't say, they told me Robin Van Persie scored loads of goals, because if you didn't know that, really, what were you doing as a manager of another Premier League team last season?
Well, apparently every waking moment that he's not actually watching a football match, he's on the road somewhere looking at football. It's got absolutely nothing to do with scouting players, you understand.
He just loves it, doesn't he? Alright, so talking of scouting players, he was chatting in the crowd in Germany with a man who is the agent for some German footballers. We've signed a diminutive Spanish midfield genius, attacking midfield genius. Can we sign a German engine room to go with it to make the perfect combination? Is it going to happen, Ed?
Well, the player that we're talking about is Tony Cruz. He's not really an engine room. A very, very fine player, very fine player. I mean, started out as a left winger, basically, but he's been playing a lot more centrally. He can play, I'd say, in any of the attacking areas, and he's also played in a more traditional central midfield role for Bayern too. He's very, very flexible, very, very good player, and currently in a contract dispute with Bayern. His contract doesn't actually run out until 2015, so United aren't in a position of power here, but there's a little negotiating flexibility. I would be surprised if Bayern let him go. He plays pretty much every game under Guardiola. He's a Guardiola-type player, I think, a player who can play in many different positions and very comfortably, and it's all going to come down to money in the end, and Bayern are not short, and I'd be surprised if they let one of their own go, because of a dispute over money. I'd be really surprised. So,
Moyes has been fairly insistent that we're not going to get anyone in the transfer window, but he also said he didn't really expect to be able to get Mata in the transfer window. So, do you think that the next, well, I think it's about 4 days as we record this, do you think it's going to be exciting times?
No, I think that's it now. I mean, I think Inter is still desperately trying to offload Freddy Guarin, or Guarin, I suppose, in Spanish, and he's not good enough, I think, for United. It's kind of my opinion on him. I think that would be a kind of holding position. Let's get some squad filler in, but we've got enough squad filler in midfield, although, of course, we have shipped one out, so we're a man light. So I don't think that will happen, and the other one I was worrying might happen was Cabaye, but PSG have stepped into a £19 million worth of bench warmer because he's not going to play very much in Paris given the quality they've got in central midfield. So that one won't happen. So I think no purchase of a central midfielder this winter, which is a shame because we need one, but maybe they've got their eyes on some others in the summer. Gundogan, perhaps, who has a buyout clause.
I mean, the Mata transfer definitely makes the sense that it's all falling apart and we're never going to be able to buy a player again because everyone behind the scenes is completely incompetent. Makes that seem slightly further off. I mean, you mentioned the briefing to Danny Taylor, a slightly odd way that they handled that transfer, right? And it does seem to indicate that a fairly significant shift has happened in the way United are going to conduct their transfer business, not just in terms of personnel, but in terms of methodology as well.
Well, I think that was specific, I suppose. I mean, in most circumstances, the senior executives are still required to do the final negotiation. There's some personality involved. This is why David Gill was very successful in a sense. He was very, very well connected in European football circles. Edward Wood isn't, and on this occasion, so the spin goes, they didn't want to engage Chelsea and have a falling out with them over Wayne Rooney, so they did it all through intermediaries. Maybe, I think that's a very expensive way to conduct your business if you're going to be handing over sort of 10 or 15% premiums on players because you're engaging 3 sets of agents, but maybe that's the way they'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, won't we? I do think it looks like they're extremely serious about strengthening in the summer, though. The way they've been talking, the way Mata's talked about the players that are going to be coming to United in the summer, it could be really fun and exciting, right? I think that is clearly a possibility.
Well, there are two options for United in the summer, given that so many players will be leaving. By average and don't spend too much money and end up sinking down the table, or spend some big money now, protect your investment, and retain that position amongst, at least the top four. That's your two options. Which would you pick?
Well, I would pick the second of those two options.
Very good.
I would pick mysterious option C, do whatever it takes to buy Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but that's why it's a good job that I'm not in charge of football clubs.
Yes. The former greatest player in the world ever. Now we know it, of course, it's Vidal at Juventus who has declared himself usurping Ibra as the greatest player that ever lived.
I'm up for it, though. I'm super up for getting a crazed egomaniac in just to offset Wayne Rooney. It would be fun. I think that could be just what United's midfield need.
Yes, very good. Of course, one last word on the Cardiff game. I thought it was quite funny. Noon, afterwards, the Cardiff midfielder, expressing his gratitude for Wayne Rooney swapping shirts. I thought they weren't allowed to do that. Domestic game. Really. It said he'd swap shirts with Wayne Rooney and offered Adnan Januzaj his Nando's loyalty card.
Now that we've brought back the Cardiff game, I haven't got ridiculously soppy about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for a bit, so here's me doing that for a minute. How lovely was all the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer bit? As soon as we'd scored, pressure was off, United fans almost as one, rising to beautiful rendition of You Are My Solskjaer, and then Who Put the Ball in the Germans' Net. Later on, when one of the Cardiff lads was down injured, Ole was standing in his technical area looking a bit worried, but then the United fans started singing again, and you could literally see him have to force himself not to grin from ear to ear. Because it must be nice to come to a place where you're quite that loved.
Well, yes, he might not be loved in Cardiff given their results.
Lost
all three of their league games so far.
I'm not having it. He's transformed that side, and they've got a bunch of home games in a row. Derby away against Swansea. He's going to win all of them. Go on a run, he is.
Well, he's certainly brought in a lot of players, and I guess they needed it, and they're in pretty dire straits. But a new manager can have that stimulus. It certainly has done at Crystal Palace. I mean, you'd have put good money on them being relegated, now 5 points clear of the relegation zone, so it can happen very quickly. It's very tight down there, and he just desperately needs a win, otherwise he's going to be in trouble, and I can't imagine him lasting at Cardiff if they get relegated, but that's the risk you take, and he's a good coach, and I'm hopeful that it will turn around from him. There's some divided loyalties here, of course, because he's working for an utter nut job in Vincent Tan.
He is, yeah, but really he's working for the people of the club, because he is clearly a man of the people, and a man with goodness and pure joy at his heart.
Talking of the People's Club, Manchester City released their financial figures. The Citizens, right? Yeah, owned by the state of the United Arab Emirates.
How are they looking money-wise, Ed?
Well, they lost £50 million to add to their $98 million that they lost last season. Of course,
careless.
Some of that is rather careless. Yeah, just fell down Sheikh Mansour's sofa. I mean, he's got a few billion down there. It's hard to keep hold of it all. It just drops out your pocket. Now, when you lose a tenner and you're like, well, I'm sure I had 2 in there, but, sure he had 50 million in there, just dropped out. But, not looking good for financial fair play. Although, having said that, their sponsorship income is now only a few million, 9 million short of Manchester United's. Manchester United, who've signed a sponsorship deal with every company on the planet, and some that aren't even on the planet, and Manchester City, who've signed a sponsorship deal with every Abu Dhabi based company on the planet, and some that are only in Abu Dhabi and not the rest of the planet.
I personally believe that they're a very viable commercial entity, and there's no special interests being pursued for the sake of manipulating the financial fair play system.
Very good. Well, if you believe that, and you are at Steve_MCFC on Twitter, you may also believe that the £12.8 million that Manchester City received from the Abu Dhabi owners for intellectual property rights is nothing to do with gerrymandering the accounts either.
Look, Micah Richards could be turned into an excellent series of action movies and video games.
He certainly could be. Well, he's not useful for much else, is he?
I love Micah Richards. Micah Richards is one of them opposition players you can't help but love, mostly because of the video of him singing the Carrick song.
So here's my prediction. The accounts that go in next year will be the third of 3 in financial fair play, although, of course, it's phased in. So the third of 3 that count towards the first year of financial fair play, and then there's 3 after that also count to the aggregate loss that you can make of 45 million euros over that time. Anyway, whatever the aggregate loss is for City in those years 1, 2 and 3, they'll have a mysterious backer that equals the aggregate loss. Random prediction there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Who knows what the future holds? It's just completely up in the air. Maybe they will, find an even more valuable official noodle partner than Mammy Noodles.
Maybe they will, yeah. Abu Dhabi pot noodle will sponsor them to the tune of £500 million a year. Yeah, it's not quite as blatant as Paris Saint-Germain, whose sponsorship is based on the game of Scrabble, because every single one of them begins with the letter Q.
Basically, Ryan Giggs has got more history than Paris Saint-Germain, and yet they've made themselves one of the top 5 most commercially successful clubs in the world in a very short space of time.
Yeah, very strange club, based out in the suburbs in this awful concrete bowl of a stadium, and
yeah, it's bad, isn't it?
Absolutely nothing around it, and the Parisians don't care much for them either. But the Qataris do, and the Qataris have funded them very, very nicely. Interesting story in France this week. Since we're on financials for a little bit, Monaco, of course, none of the players have to pay tax, so it's an unfair advantage, and it's never been a problem in 120 years of Monaco being in the French league until a Russian billionaire bought them and started buying all sorts of players like Falcao and Rodriguez and a bunch of others, and now they've kicked off and they're not very happy about it, especially Paris Saint-Germain, because this is unfair financial doping, right? Financial doping has to come in the box that we allow it to come in, not this weird shaped one that Monaco brought along. Anyway, so Monaco have agreed to pay 50 million euros in bribes to the rest of the league to allow them to continue playing in French football. It's a lovely state of affairs over there at the moment. Financial fair play, Platini's brainchild, and the most screwed up country in football finance is definitely France.
I mean, I don't know why any billionaire would consider Monaco to be an attractive place to run a football team. That seems really odd to me.
No, I mean, if you were a cynic, which clearly I am not, you'd say it was something about laundering money, but hey.
But no, it's not. We definitely want to make extremely clear that we are not suggesting that any of this has anything to do with anything actually illegal.
God knows, otherwise I'll be stuck in the back with an umbrella full of plutonium, won't I?
Well, basically, what'll happen is Fergie will knock the door down and go, "Listen, lad, you've been talking about that Bebe transfer again."
Oh, Bebe, he scored an absolute wonder goal the other week. I think we talked about that one already. Bring back Bebe.
Absolutely. All right, so he probably won't be back in time for the Stoke game, and before we preview this Stoke game, let's do some Twitter questions for the listeners, because we've rambled on, even though we didn't think we'd have much to talk about. We found a lot to talk about, but let's make sure we get some of these in. So, there's talk of Nani to Inter at the moment, says at Big Shimmery Wall, but currently that's just a loan deal. If it was a permanent transfer as part of a player swap, would you rather swap Guarin now or no centre midfield now, but Kovacic in the summer?
Well, Kovacic is a very good player. I think I might rather have Alvarez. He's the better of the 3, but he is a kind of attacking number 10 style, and we seem to have a lot of attacking number 10 style players at the moment. I'm not sure I'd have any Inter players, in all honesty. I'm not quite sure they're where it's at the moment in terms of midfielders. Look over at Turin, though, and Juve have got a couple of very nice ones I'd have. Thank you very much.
Talking of which, best beard in football, asks Jonas Holmes 21.
Socrates.
Oh, the late great.
The late great.
The bearded genius himself. All right, best contemporary beard. I mean,
the one Wayne Rooney had in that Nike ad.
Andrea Pirlo's hard to beat as far as I'm concerned, and Nocerino, of course, a spectacular beard.
Yeah, Mr. Champagne, who is going up against Sepp Blatter, or going to be spanked in the elections for the
ritual sacrifice against Sepp Blatter.
Exactly, yeah. I'm surprised he had. Well, that Sepp's not worried because Mr. Champagne has not been charged with financial impropriety. I love how Sepp Blatter has got a sense of humour. So when he wants to get rid of one of his opponents, he accuses them of doing exactly what Sepp has done for the last 20 years, allegedly.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's got a cracking beard. It's this weird one that comes down from his lip, then sort of forks out, and it looks rather like an anchor on his chin.
Nice. I must check this out. That sounds impressive. At Ed Barber, friend of the Rantcast, says, would you rather have 10 Juan Mata-sized Peter Crouches or 1 Crouch-sized Juan Mata?
I'm not sure Juan Mata would have the same kind of balance if he was 6'12", whatever Peter Mata is. Peter Mata, Peter Crouch.
And I think, right, if you could play 10 Juan Mata-sized Peter Crouches and they counted for 1 player in a football match, that would definitely be a significant advantage. But yeah, good touch to it for a big man would be taken to a whole new level with 1 Crouch-sized Mata. At Nightwink99 says, if Fergie had dabblings in the signing of Juan Mata, would you accept him in a director of football role?
I think that'd be a little bit too close to the players, wouldn't it? So, director of football... So, David Moyes has got the ultimate say on transfers and players, and that doesn't always happen if you have this kind of duality of director of football and coach. I don't think that's the way United are set up structurally. I don't see them changing now. Moyes has been given the final say. He's also personally involved in the scouting, as we know, so no.
Okay, fair enough. At Master Uguay says, what do you think Juan Mata's favourite karaoke song is? I reckon it's got to be something in a kind of super sophisticated Serge Gainsbourg, or maybe like playing saxophone along with Miles Davis instead of, a typical belter. I'm not sure Juan Mata's going to be belting out I Will Survive.
No, and let's hope he doesn't do any god-awful Europop either.
At Joe_Cooper_ says, Mata, 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 #Rantcast. I'm excited too, Joe. I feel you. I really do. At 987_Sean says, will Mata buy a house or just rent David De Gea's spare room?
I'm sure he'll buy a massive mansion. He was photographed off with his charming girlfriend, looking at houses in Cheshire, as they all do, somewhere around Alderley Edge. He'll get, just the 10 bedrooms, I suppose.
At Steuge says, will Rooney pick himself to play in the number 10 role this weekend? And from which flank should Mata operate? I say left. Januzaj left, Mata right, Rooney central.
Yes, that might happen, I suppose. And there's certainly some interest in that kind of formation. I mean, it's certainly very hard for United to knock it long and put in a cross playing like that, wouldn't it? I think Rooney will pick himself for the number 10 role at the weekend.
I just so desperately hope that the meme that basically he just wants to knock it long to the big man, it proves in the long run not to be the truth of David Moyes' heart, but we'll see. At Ole United says, by what percentage has our squad's handsomeness increased with the signing of Juan Mata? It's a pretty significant uptick, I'd say, because he is just handsome Wayne Rooney. He's what would happen if Wayne Rooney had been, just a very slight tweak.
He's got a significant chin on him, though.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's a problem, and he's got a good facial hair situation to deal with that.
This is true. Some people like the baby good looks of Anderson, though.
Yeah, that's true, and he's long gone now, so sad. But those people can move to Florence, and I'm sure they'll be romantic and happy there.
And if Wacko Jacko ends up at Inter, then, some people will be sad about that too.
Yep. At McKee_Mark with the final question of the week says, John Wayne or Clint Eastwood movies? #Rantcast.
Clint Eastwood, come on.
Yeah.
John Wayne wasn't an actor, and he looked like he'd crapped in his pants all the time.
The only exception to the John Wayne rule in terms of acting is his performance in The Searchers, which he manages to draw some reserve of existential pain. He's also pretty good in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. No, Who Shot Liberty Valance? No, The Man Who Shot... Anyway, whichever one it is, John Wayne's alright in it. But yeah, Clint Eastwood by a mile. The sheer variety of work, right?
Yeah, both in front of and behind the camera. Very fine career. He's still alive right now. He's definitely been pickled. He's got to be pushing on 80 now. But a very fine body of work, and does some fine Western too.
Both weird Republicans, though.
Yes.
So that's always problematic. But, what are you going to do?
Not vote Republican is what you'd normally do if you don't like that kind of thing. And you have a vote in the US.
Talking of weird right-wing politics, we're travelling to Stoke. That is the best segue that's ever been done on this show. I'm claiming that now. Yeah, so
you can cut out the commentary about the segue then.
No, it adds to it. We're going to Stoke. It's a vitally important game. David Moyes has managed a remarkable achievement in getting us knocked out of both cups. He's made every game into a cup final because Liverpool looked absolutely excellent against Everton. It's going to be a heck of a fight for fourth place, and we just cannot afford to let momentum slip against Stoke.
Well, very true, yes, absolutely. I mean, I said last week that it's not just about making up those 6 points to Liverpool, or 7 given the goal difference. It's also making up points to Everton and Tottenham. Everton's loss means that United are just the 2. Tottenham are playing City as we speak, so we'll see what the result is there. That might make a...
Currently getting battered by City.
Yeah, well, there you go. As expected, most people do. But, they need to drop points as well if United to make fourth, and then Liverpool need to lose some form. I mean, they're playing very well at the moment, unfortunately, or, as well as Liverpool have in a while. As long as they don't play Steven Gerrard, it seems to work for them. Though they did against Everton, so just to break that rule. But it's difficult for United because that's a lot of points and we've been inconsistent. So we need to suddenly find some consistency, and while Juan Mata will certainly add into the final third, he's not going to help much defensively, and that's where the mess has been against the better side. So Stoke will test United for sure. I can't say they play any decent football. They play better football than they did under Tony Pulis. Mark Hughes is trying to get them to at least pass the ball now and again, and they should be safe this season. So it'll be a test, but Javier Hernandez always scores there, right? So clearly he'll start on the bench.
Stoke might be playing some slightly better football, but their results are absolutely abysmal. They've not won in the league since the 21st of December. They won in the FA Cup against Leicester at home on the 4th of January, scraping a 2-1 win. A reasonable 1-1 withdrawal with Everton, but otherwise it's pretty horrific. Lost 5-1 to Newcastle, lost 3-0 to Tottenham, lost 5-3 at home to Liverpool in what was a pretty exciting game, actually. And they are, as we record, losing to Sunderland, although there's a long way to go in that one.
Well, they're right down there, but you'd think they've got enough players to be safe. Although Mark Hughes does have a remarkable record of trying to get teams relegated. He generally gets sacked before it actually happens. They swapped Odimwingie for Kenwyne Jones this week, which is an interesting one. Maybe Hughes just wants a little bit more pace up front. I suppose that would help with their penetration. I presume that Odimwingie actually found the club and didn't wander into the QPR car park this time round. But, it's an interesting swap because Cardiff can't score goals either.
I'm not sure that's going to save their league status, is it, necessarily? There's so many bad teams in the Premier League.
Stoke face us, go to Southampton, very difficult place, face Swansea, massive game, and then go to Manchester City. So they could lose all 4 of those, and here's a prediction: if they lose all 4, Hughes will get the sack.
And I don't like to celebrate the misfortune of others, but Mark Hughes' managerial career has stood in opposition to everything good he stood for at Man United, hasn't it?
That's right. He died for me in 1995. Remember yes. Everything before that. After that, see you, Mark.
Nothing. When he was in the TV studio when we played Chelsea in the first FA Cup back at Wembley, he said he was a boyhood Chelsea fan, and so he was going to back Chelsea over the Reds. Unacceptable. Yeah. It would be unacceptable for David Moyes to lose this game. Really. I mean, I have to say the signing of Juan Mata means I don't know what could happen between now and the end of the season to see Moyes lose his job. He's getting another season, isn't he?
He's definitely getting another season, and I don't think United would lose enough games. I mean, we'd have to lose a lot of games in the second half of the season to see the owners lose confidence in him. He's getting another season, and it's all about fourth spot now. It's how desperate it's become, though. It doesn't half sound pathetic when United, 11 points champions last season, are scrabbling around hoping to make fourth. Even worse, might have to qualify for the Europa League. The indignity of it.
I'm totally getting into this, though, the battle for fourth place. I'm like, yeah, there's real stakes now. This is the whole, winning a title, schminning the title, we've done that loads of times. This is the whole future of the club is riding on this. This is massive because the whole summer recruitment's going to be a heck of a lot easier if we get that fourth spot. So this is like make or break for the next 20 years.
Oh dear. Look, it's like cookie cutter Arsenal fan, that is, isn't it? Desperate and sad. No, it's not good enough. Should have been a lot better.
Well, yeah, but it's too late for that now. It's not going to be a lot better, is it? Let's face it. I have to say, talking of cookie-cutter Arsenal fans, one vaguely, slightly amusing possibility is that Arsenal will collapse and drop out of the top 4 and we'll get in their place, which wouldn't be at all funny.
Yes, and unlikely to happen, given that they have found some consistency this season, although had a tough game at Southampton, but quite a lot of people who've had a tough game at Southampton.
Let he who has not struggled against mid-table side this season cast the first stone.
Quite.
So, prediction for the Stoke game. Are we going to win?
Yes, because Javier Hernandez is going to score.
What's the score going to be then?
I think United will go there and win 1-0.
I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to United.
Bold.
Juan Mata getting off the mark, opening his account.
Sure you don't want to give us a top 10 list of potential scores?
So harsh. Look, it's not my fault, all right? I'm trying to turn it into an art form.
Trying being the optimal word there.
Oh, that's it. We're finished.
Very good. So if you haven't checked out Paul's, what should we call it? Writing, that's it. Writing on Bleacher Report. Please do.
Oh yeah, and if you really like kind of long-winded, miserablest financial analysis, unitedrand.co.uk,
Yes, and my latest movie on the snowflake in the Arctic. It's 8 hours long. Be coming soon.
By the way, Ed, I have thoroughly enjoyed a bunch of the stuff you've written recently on unitedrand.co.uk. If listeners are not regular readers, it's just...
Well, reading is hard, to be fair.
It is, yeah. It's way harder than listening to stuff, I think. You know what? Writing's hard too. That's why it's good if it can be a top 10 list.
Yes, very good. Well, yes, you can go check out that stuff on the blog, I suppose, at unitedrand.co.uk. You can find us on Facebook, not literally on Facebook. You can find a United Rant page. We sometimes update it. You can actually find a United Rant page on Google+. I went there and realised I hadn't posted any of the stories for the past 2 years. So I started doing it again. Just because the 3 people that use Google+. I figure it gives you Google life, right? So, you have to feed the beast. And all of that. You can also find us on Twitter, where we are far more active. Paul is being all gushing about various people and players at UTD Rantcast. I'm generally arguing with some kind of numpty at United Rant. So come along and abuse me. I like hitting the block button because it's the thing I do most on Twitter. I
think it's fair to say that our Twitter situation fairly aptly describes the differences in our approach to life, isn't it, Ed?
Maybe. It is interesting how I can provoke outrage and hatred, genuine hatred and questioning of my parentage and life expectations from simply tweeting something like, that was a good goal, in it.
Shut up, yeah? Liverpool are much better than you.
Something along that. Actually, it's United fans that abuse me most.
Yeah. God, why do you hate United so much, Ed?
I don't know. I've been practicing hating them for a very long time, though. So it's, I've just built up a knack for the hate.
If you want to feed this hatred, unitedrant.co.uk/donate. Thank you so much to the people that have kicked in... not insubstantial amounts of support for the show.
We're on our way. The millions are coming. It's donationware, and Facebook is basically donationware. You donate your time on Facebook, and corporates pay them millions of pounds to advertise there.
Yeah, and we
donate our time to United Rant podcast, and you pay us millions of pounds to be. Well, maybe not.
The thing is, we won't infiltrate your ears with advertising. There have been no telephone calls from Squarespace to us to get in some advertising. So this is really the only way we can fund the podcast, and it is incredibly, all joking aside, it is super nice of the people that have chipped in to do that. So thank you very much indeed. You know who you are.
Very good, and I'm off to feed my cocaine and prostitute habit. Paulie's off to write a top 10 list of vices that I have got, and in the meantime, let's hope United score at Stoke.
Come on, United.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.